Hi, everybody. This is Ray, otherwise known as Life and Vibe. And it's so good to see everybody here today. We have a little bit of a different topic today, though it is one that I do believe could potentially be something that could affect a lot of the different content creators that we watch here on YouTube. And so I know that we are having changes in our laws today. And so anyway, if you do happen to like this content, make sure to hit the like buttons on the way up and let other people know that we have gone live. Obviously, to make any commentary in the chat. Hey, hi, nice to see you. Just make sure that you have subscribed to the channel and join in the chat today, because I think this is going to be very impactful to the YouTube Nomadic and Vanlife community, and could potentially have an impact on those who live in RV parks, because it either means that they could have potentials. What's Timmy up to? Timmy is talking about traveling in his RV, and we have not really been watching him this week, so I've kind of just skimmed over his videos. He had one day when he was completely didn't release anything, and he just said he took a day off, which I agree. You should take a day off. I don't think you should have to force content out. If he was good about it, he could probably film his 15 videos and spread them out over a week rather than releasing them all. I think today he's released a ton of videos. This is a topic that Tim has not spoken about at all. And I believe that he is talking about traveling to the Smoky Mountains. I think that may be in Georgia. And so I think we're going to watch a couple other people. And I don't want this to obviously be politicized. I'm not really here. Obviously, I have what my views are. But this is not a political channel. But there has been a new executive order. And it actually is impacting a lot of people who are on the West Coast, more so than even the people who are on the East Coast. So we're actually going to watch a couple of videos from two female creators who are part of the van life community. And they're actually going to explain what this new executive order is. It just got recently passed, and it is going to impact, because Tim was talking about wanting to hitch up. Hey, come on in, Ocean View. Nice to see you. And he's not spoken about this. And this has come into effect, and it could affect how he lives, could affect the cost of RV parks, because obviously if people are not going to be able to boondock or live on people's properties or have access to the freedom of parks, loves truck stops, you name it, then obviously that's going to impact a lot of these different communities on YouTube, and not just Tim. So and then in the broader respect, there's the way the executive order has been written, it's supposedly really supposed to, criminalize homelessness, people with substance use disorders who are homeless. Obviously, this is going to greatly affect people who are poor. And I think that if we don't talk about, other than just the sort of glamping side of being in a van life, or a lot of these people, there's a guy that I watch. Hey, Catherine, come on in. There's a gentleman who I watch called Scotty Bear, and I haven't really made content around him because I'm not trying to demonize these people. These aren't problematic individuals like Sarasota Tim, who is trying to talk about how glamorous it is for seniors. There's a news station, but I don't want to get struck on copyright for using a news channel that talked about 78-year-olds living in their cars in places like Miami-Dade County. It's heartbreaking. And these people living in their vehicles will be criminalized, potentially, because it's such a broad executive order. And so it is going to change the landscape of all of these content creators. You're going to find that they're selling the buses, they're selling the vans. And then what is that going to do? Well, because there's a limited supply of RV spots or a limited supply of housing, it's just going to end up less supply. Obviously, anybody with basic economics knows that that means there's going to be a rise in the cost. And so for Tim to be out here and selling this glamorized, minimalist RV park living, in hindsight of this very important executive order that is really going to change this nomadic community landscape and van life landscape, I think it's part of the problem as to why Tim is a problematic channel, because he seems very uneducated on a lot of different topics. Now, I, as a, and I love people that love me talking about these things in my licensure, because, how dare I mention that I have. Hi, Sharon. I wanted to thank you for your gift for my birthday. Thank you so much. There's no way to do it directly, but you know what you did, and it's my favorite place, and I really appreciate. Oh my God, I knocked my light out. Oh, it came back, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you all being here today. So make sure that you do say like and come on in, because we're going to watch some different people today. I hope I said hey, Karen and Bertie, and all of you who are here. And I know it's a great community in the chat. Surprise live show. Yeah, I actually last week I was on holiday because it was my birthday. So I was home, but I was kind of on holiday. And so I was thinking, oh, I'll put out content, but it was such a good week. I mean, the weather was gorgeous. Like today it's like 77, which is pleasant, but it's not beach weather. Last week was perfect beach weather in Virginia Beach. And I happened to have a week off of work with PTO, that thing that you get when you have employment at a prison job. And so I took time out and was able to go to the beach and run and go to the movies. And so I thank everybody who sent me birthday wishes, and to Catherine for your wonderful gift as well. And so the puppies have been enjoying their stuff. They're all just here hanging out. Yeah, LA is going to get really affected by these laws. Anybody who lives in an RV, any of these people, it's going to be bad. The parks are getting bought up. Yes, and the Bureau of Land Management is also selling a lot of land. So let's just look at some of these videos that we have today. They are different creators today, and I'm hoping they understand this is all fair use. I can't show my fair use statement easily because StreamYard has changed how it gives you abilities to do things on their free end of their platform. And since I'm not really going to be showing any Tim, because we're not watching Tim this week, and he's not doing anything interesting, I promise you. And like I said, he's talking about going out camping, and this could affect Tim and affect how much he's paying for that slab in the future, and affect his plans. And if he's not aware of it and aware of what he's doing, like Arizona, I hear, is really cracking down. But anyway, let some of the folks who actually are people in the van life community, people who are far more educated in this area because they actually live this lifestyle. I'm going to let them talk about this. Okay, so we have... And like I said, let's not politicize all this. This is just because I think these people have done the research. And if you all finding it an interesting topic, because it's going to affect a lot of people. There's a lot of, I hate to say it, senior citizens here in the United States who live in their cars. And it's through necessity, not because they're trying to be glamorous. There's a lot of this curated content on YouTube that tries to show that, because it's something that people watch, people, are all, hey, come on in. Yeah, Roscoe fundraiser still. And everybody who has donated to that, I so appreciate it. He is doing so much better. He finished his final course of his his sort of medications for his tapeworm parasites, and he is actually starting to put some weight on now. I mean, he's starting to look so much better, and obviously the more he gains weight, the more I'm able to get him closer to getting his teeth cleaned and all of that good stuff. And so I really do appreciate all of you who are here in the live chat today. Make sure you hit the like so everyone knows that we're live. I'm doing it kind of like I guess a drive time version. You lived in a car for 3 months? Oh, I'm so sorry. Right. And so anybody who has to find themselves faced with this, they're going to find less spaces to be safe in. They're going to be criminalized. They could be potentially imprisoned for it. And so we're basically going to start criminalizing those who live in their vehicles now here in the United States. That's what this executive order is going to do. And all these channels and all these people living out on this BLM land and all these nomadic fanatics and all of these folks, they're going to have some big changes. Now, if they're on their own land, even camping, I mean, it's so broad, this executive order, and it's going to change the fabric of YouTube and these content careers. I mean, this is a huge thing. And I think anybody who even is a commentator or reaction channel, I kind of covered Tim. I don't specifically cover every nomadic or van life person. There's so many. I, as somebody who obviously has studied mental health, it is a huge impact on those with mental health because they're criminalizing people with mental health issues. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, you know. That was like 45 years ago. Well, there's seniors a lot of seniors are not being able to afford these apartments. So you can imagine now. Anyway, let some other people talk about it. And like I said, just keep an open mind, folks. Let's learn about what these new laws are. We're going to watch a couple of videos. I'm going to let these people talk at normal speed. And the first one is from a channel called BunnyAndBeyond Vanlife. She put this out about 11 days ago. I hope Bunny is okay with me doing this under fair use. And obviously, I think they're trying to raise awareness on these issues. So I don't think any of these creators are actually going to find it problematic that I'm doing a reaction. The fact that Tim hasn't spoken about any of this, I think he thinks he's safe in his RV. But it does have impact on RV parks, obviously, as well, and potentially within this law. So let's take a listen to this and just see what we're learning here, because it's going to change all of that community. And anybody who's wanting to do this or thinking about it or planning a retirement, like so many people who say they're going to do this, all these people who are trying to live in their cars now and save money, all of these people are going to be absolutely affected. It's not, like I said, just the content creators. That's probably hundreds of thousands of people in the United States this could potentially encompass, and certainly did encompass Tim when he was living in Boynton Beach in that tent.
You can't camp in your own backyard right now. In some places, you can't even sleep in your own driveway. And urban camping or being stealth, the risks we're taking by living in our vehicles are literally wagering our entire freedom. And this isn't hypothetical. This is the law. I never set out to make this a political channel. I wanted to share the beauty, the freedom, and the resilience of van life, the raw and the real parts. But the more I live this way, on the fringes looking in, the more I realize that more laws are quietly being passed that quietly threaten this lifestyle. And honestly, your rights too. And
so there is a lot of people that this could potentially impact. Those who stay overnight in rest stops, those people who are at camping. I mean, in other states, in every state has different laws. So if you are traveling in any way now, I think it's going to behoove you to make sure that you are abreast of what each state's laws are. Boondocking is definitely going to seemingly be a thing of the past. And so I think that this is going to limit a lot of the potential for travel, a lot of these channels. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this begins to develop and how many of these creators will actually potentially hide off their channels because maybe they don't want to have attention on them. You know, there's already a lot of people getting approached by police. Tim is definitely a fan of a Walmart parking lot. That could all potentially come to an end. So, I mean, the impact is huge.
Point, it's become impossible to ignore what's going on around us. I'm in Idaho right now, and they just passed a law that bans sleeping in your vehicle on public property. And it's on any public property, statewide. And it's not just in Idaho. There's other places where this is happening too. For instance, in Greeley, Colorado, you're only allowed to camp on private property, even with permission, for 7
Now that might be the thought, but these things are changing. So I think that anything that we thought how it was, because a lot of this BLM land is also being sold off. So I think if we're not aware of what's changing and aware of what could potentially even impact our own states, even if you believe you're safe, I think that would not be always the wisest way to go about things. because I think that it could change. So just, always err on the side of caution.
Days a year.
That's
7 days a year.
goal.
That's a week out of the entire 12 months on your own property or on a friend's property with permission. That means no backyard sleepovers, no driveway stays when you're helping take care of a sick family member, and no scout troops earning a camping badge. And then San Francisco just passed the law too. You now have to move your RV every 2 hours or risk a fine, unless you were.
But there's a lot of creators who travel extensively across other parts of the United States. And so I think we can't just be so in our own backyards. And it could come to your state soon. It's certainly in Florida. So I think that just assuming that it's only one for one place and not for others, because this is a broad executive order, they could starting to criminalize this stuff in your own states and start imprisoning people. So I think always be aware. I don't think it's necessarily a scare. This is an executive order that's come through. They are trying to crack down on this. It's a rising thing here in the US. And I think that, and obviously there's a lot of creators that do it. There's multiple creators that are talking about this. So I don't think that we can just, like I said, we can't just be state specific. That's where we end up having problems in this country. That's my thoughts.
To be counted by the city back in May. And that's not even touching the new federal push that allows people who are unhoused or just sleeping in their vehicle to be detained and institutionalized. Listen to me.
I don't think that's the case. There's articles even being written in the UK about how this law is terrifying, Bertie. So I think that you're incorrect on that. And you and I usually agree about stuff, but I think that's not the case in this.
This isn't just about van life anymore. It's about how local and federal powers are willing to control how we live, where we sleep, and what we even do on our land. And here's the thing.
No, I don't do anything on Amber Lynn Reid in a long time. And if she tried to do anything, I would just send her a letter from my attorney. So I don't usually scare. Alexander Rodriguez recently tried to do the same thing to me. She struck my channel and then the next day took it away because she probably knew she was going to get told that she needed to show up with some court stuff. So but I'm sure there's a lot of drama happening over there.
I'm not here to influence you about van life. I'm here to tell the truth about it because I've seen creators out there romanticizing the out of it, sitting in their Pinterest perfect vans, lying through their teeth, pretending this life is all sunrise coffee and cozy sweaters, just so they can flip their used van for way more than it's worth because they put some fancy build in it after they've run it into the ground.
And Tim is always trying to glamorize his lifestyle too. Now, he obviously is in a place where he has access to water and electricity, but as I said, if they're going to start trying to limit where people that, try to live freely where they want to live and are going to be forced into more RV park situations, because Florida, I can promise you, there's videos of people cracking down on somebody just eating a burrito in a Walmart, in a Wawa parking lot. It's going, a lot of people, I think, and not being aware of it is just, I think, is not good hindsight.
Now they're calling it toxic and trying to de-influence van life after making bank off of their curated fantasy. That pisses me off. Why didn't you talk about it while you were living it, Abby? And you deserve the real spectrum of van life, the highs and the lows. And the truth right now is that this lifestyle is under threat. And it's only the beginning. After they come for nomads, they're going to come for your private property. If you know of any laws like this where you live, please drop them in the comments. Remember, I'm only one person. I'm juggling content creation, full-time travel in a van, and I'm trying to keep me and my dog safe. But together, we can start paying attention and push back. I'm Bunny. I've been living as a full-time nomad for 12 years now. And lately, it's been getting a lot harder. In just the past few months alone, I've felt the pressure building. I've experienced myself more laws, more harassment, and more fear just for existing in my vehicle. I'm actually in the middle of taking legal action.
And I think that there's a lot of people that do think that this is a I even thought at one point myself, in order to travel as an RN, I should, potentially sell my condo, buy an RV, and travel to different locations and be able to do things that way, maybe save some money, pay off some debt, this, that, and the other. And in hindsight, I'm glad that I didn't take that route and I've kept in my condo in some ways, because there are things that are changing, and they have recently, especially on the West Coast. They have really, and you would think these would be the states where they would potentially be more understanding of people and their situation, especially with the cost of living in these states. But they have started to criminalize people, and they've had huge sweep outs. In fact, a creator that I watch here on YouTube had been living in a trailer on somebody's private property in a state on the West Coast. And because of the change, I think it was out in Oregon, and because of the changes of law there, the person left, had to leave the state, ended up in another state. And so it will at some point, even though we are a large country, we should care about what affects other people elsewhere, not just what's happening in our own backyards. And I don't know if this is necessarily scaremongering. I think not talking about it or having an open conversation is less progressive in thought.
Against one of these situations that happened to me recently in this video, after they threatened to arrest me illegally. And I caught the whole thing on video. I'm not sharing this for sympathy. I'm sharing it because so many of you are out there feeling this too. This video is about what's really happening to van lifers, to RVers, and even folks just trying to.
I would agree. You shouldn't try to be hostile with the police when they approach you. I agree with that. I certainly agree. And like I said, this is just to explain what the potential laws are. We'll listen to another creator, so we're going to listen to two different perspectives. But obviously, this is, kind of what people are feeling. Maybe,
Camp in a backyard. If you've been here for a little while, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm here to stand with you in the truth. If this hits home, make sure to subscribe and support the channel. It helps more than you know. And if you want to be a part of the deeper...
Well, there's a lot of freeloaders that are off of YouTube. From what I can understand from watching some nomadic creators. So I think that we've got bigger problems with other types of freeloaders in this country.
For conversation, I have a free tier on my Patreon where we're talking about real solutions and ways to push back together. You ready to get into it? Here we go. There are new laws that have come into order that we need to talk about. Idaho Senate Bill 1141. It's a statewide camping and sleeping ban. Here's the summary. Signed into law that goes into effect July 1st, 2025, this bill prohibits all sleeping or camping on public property, including sidewalks, parks, roads, and in vehicles. Here's the thing. At first, this Senate bill was supposed to be in Idaho cities that had a population of 100,000 or more, like Nampa or Boise, and it bans sleeping in tents, cars, RVs, or on the ground. Local jurisdictions cannot opt out. The only exception is for commercial drivers. So what does this mean for van life and everyone else? It means even if your RV is legally parked or you're taking a nap in your vehicle during lunch hour, you could be criminalized. But hold on a minute. There's something that they didn't mention and that didn't get enough coverage. So let's clarify it. The bill applies to all public property across the entire state of Idaho, and it's not limited to cities above 100,000 residents. That misconception came from earlier coverage, and the
this is what obviously a lot of people may not agree with this particular person's way of handling the police or their politics, but she is mentioning different types of laws, which is why I kind of chose this particular creator, because she is stating different types of Senate bills. And this is what if anybody, I think, is considering this type of lifestyle, one, I would think it's very stressful. From all the studies that I have read, obviously, even if you're somebody like Tim who's living in an RV, that's still a fairly unhoused situation and can be impactful for mental health, especially as somebody starts to age. We've seen how it's impacted Tim's mental health over the summertime. Obviously, I don't treat or diagnose, though I am obviously in grad school. But supposedly I have no expertise. But anyway. I have to laugh. Anyway, so obviously the heat and everything else that he has coped with obviously has had an impact on his mental health throughout the summer. This week has been a little bit cooler here on the East Coast, so maybe he's not faring so hard this week, which is why he took a day off and sat inside and watched Grit TV, which I'm glad he took a day off. He needed to. So anyway, that's why I chose this particular person. So just listen, because it does, and it could change it for everybody. So I'm just saying, this is where we need to be aware, because there's tons of content creators and there's tons of people who enjoy this type of lifestyle, even just to go on vacation. How is it going to impact folk? And it would be interesting to hear it from different parts of the US. And we will, because there are lots of these different channels. And so I just thought this was an interesting topic, because Tim is talking about putting a camper on the back of his truck, or going and camping in this place and that place, and seems to be probably quite unaware that where he is camping and where he's putting himself, he may be actually not being able to be there. We already know he got upset because of what happened to him living on a tent in Boynton Beach. And he wasn't supposed to be there. And there will be people that will report you like little Karens. So just be aware.
Final bill removed that population threshold, and they didn't tell anyone. Any city or county is prohibited from authorizing public sleeping or camping on roads, sidewalks, parks, and rights of way statewide. Now, this law only covers
2 weeks. They said 2 weeks. It doesn't mean full time. 2 weeks. No, they're not just going to let you camp out in your RV anymore like that across certain states. I know it sounds horrible. I'm just saying, this is an executive order across the country.
Public spaces. It does not apply to private
don't get upset with me.
So for now, you can relax. Backyard sleepovers and RV driveway stays are not covered by Idaho Senate Bill 1141. But now we have to look at Greeley, Colorado, and their unauthorized camping ordinance, City Code number 18. This passed on June 11th of this year, 2025. It adds to Chapter 16 of Title 14 of the Municipal Code. Camp or camping means using private property for overnight occupancy or to reside or dwell, whether using or erecting a shelter temporarily or otherwise, including using a vehicle overnight. It does not include daytime napping or picnicking. So what does it cover? What does that mean? Camping on public property, parks, sidewalks, underpasses. Banned. Camping on private residential property, even with permission, is limited to a maximum of 7 days per year, even on someone's own land or driveway. What are the penalties? $1,000 fine, or even 1 year in jail. Right now, they're focused mainly on educating the public, but obviously citation.
So Bertie, technically, federally, you're only allowed 7 days to camp on your land before it's a crime under this executive order. Now, whether each state... So I'm just saying, and it's not per state, it's across the nation. It's an executive order from the White House. So I think it would be good to read it.
Are the next thing to follow. Then we've got San Francisco with their oversized vehicle parking law. This just passed this July. This is a city ordinance, and they don't have an official bill number listed publicly yet. It's basically restricting RV parking. You have a 2-hour limit citywide. Oversized vehicles, RVs, vans over 22 feet can park only for 2 hours max on any public street. 24/7. No overnight parking allowed. If your RV was counted by the city in May of 2025, you may apply for a 6-month refuge permit, but only if you accept housing help or city services. Then there's the RV buyback program that's part of all this. The city will pay about $175 per foot to take your RV off of your hands. Only if you're on the list from the May count, though. So if they didn't count you, you're not in on this. There's limited funds, and it's not for everyone. Let's put this into perspective. Most vans are anywhere from 7.
So it does affect people with their RVs. And so that's why I said this is kind of effects for Timmy, because at the moment he's in an RV park, but the rates could go up and he has limited income. His YouTube income certainly isn't all that and a bag of chips anymore. Things are getting more and more expensive. So and if these people are going to have to try to find somewhere more permanently to reside, and then even these RV parks, what does that imply? Are they going to have time limits on how long someone can stay at these parks? it's such a broad executive order. How could it be interpreted? This is what I find, because I have to, as part of my graduate degree, obviously, is look at policies, because I look at a lot of healthcare policy, because that affects obviously what we're educating for our future healthcare professionals, how we educate our patients, how we educate our families. And so, and this is a very broad order, very broad. And we will be giving away some free memberships. Okay.
17 feet to 22 feet. And RVs can be that short and also up to 45 feet. So at least you're going to get, if you were counted in the May count, about $3,000. And at most, $7,000 at $175 per foot. That doesn't exactly give people enough money to pay for rent, get themselves back on their feet, and even pay for some of the fees involved with getting housing. If you're looking at first month, last month, and deposit of moving into an apartment in San Francisco, you're easily looking at over $7,000. That might even be an exaggeration, but if you've seen the cost of housing in San Francisco, you might think twice. And that leaves people without a vehicle to get to and from any job they have. In many of these RVs, especially.
I mean, it could just affect, like I said, people, a lot of, the times when Tim was traveling across country and wanting just to sleep in the, use the Walmart parking lot overnight to park his RV. Those days may be coming to an end for people. So you're going to have to compete for the spots that are available. Because obviously places like the rest stops are often for people who are long distance drivers, who commercially, because they are commercial drivers, would be fine under this order. But everybody else, there is some, and I've got some interesting videos about, like I said, I've watched a little bit about this today because there's so many different people within this community I know who watch content around the nomad life and stuff, and all these people on the BLM land. It's going to affect a lot of these different people. And we're going to watch from another young lady in a minute.
The older ones are people's only homes. $3,000 to $7,000 won't even come close to replacing a vehicle or finding stable housing.
Well, they do,
this kicks in fall of 2025. And there's no clear.
I mean, that's obviously, they always say the intent of the law, but there's going to be people that, for the most part, that is not the majority of these people who live in these situations. I think not being aware of that here in the United States and criminalizing people who, especially some of the younger people who cannot afford this housing at the moment at the cost that it's at. There's a lot of young people living in cars. And I think not being aware of that as an older generation here in the United States and just calling people bums, I think that's really harsh. I wouldn't do that to people, especially as somebody who works in healthcare. I don't try to degrade people that way. I degrade Timmy because he stole money from the American taxpayer. And he is a bum because he lies about it.
Protections for people who moved into RVs after May of this year. And let's not forget the additional trends around the U.S. Over 150 anti-homeless laws have passed since the Grants Pass decision, targeting sleeping, sitting, public storage.
I have no idea about that. I'm not assessing this woman's mental health. But these are laws that are coming into effect. So whether and I think if she was a man potentially saying this, I just wonder sometimes if would we be so harsh. An executive order is not law. No, it's not. But there are a lot of different states and cities that I think that are changing their laws. And I think being able to have a conversation about that, and because there's a lot of people that create this content. And I think we need to be aware, we do. And it is going to affect people. I think just talking about people who have obviously mental health and substance use disorders, let's not disparage people. Remember, let's always try to be kind. And as an RN, I promise you, I've had a lot of these people as my patients. We don't know people and what their situation is. A lot of these people might have been to the military and have PTSD. So I think that's, let's be respectful. And I am always going to be that way. I don't look at people in that respect.
Or loitering. Now, these restrictions disproportionately impact unhoused people and RVers and even community groups that are using private land temporarily or just occasionally. Again, if there are laws in your area that I didn't get to mention, please drop them in the comments. I'm just one person navigating all of this. I'm grieving my mom.
I'm never going to call somebody. I don't think that we should be calling people bums. I'm going to disagree, community. I'm sorry. That's not nice. We're not, these people haven't been sometimes given the same opportunities that maybe some of us in our older generations have been. And I think if we don't stand up for them, that's sad. Not everybody's bums. And a lot of these people, you don't know what mental health crises or what things that they have. And we don't have a lot of access to mental health services in this country. So I do ask that you kindly refrain from using that type of language in my chat, please. Because I obviously work with a lot of people who have mental health and substance use disorders as part of being a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And I would never disparage my patients. And you would hope that no healthcare professional would. And I think it's kind of shameful that you would in my chat. Reflect on yourselves.
Living full-time in a van and keeping up with content across multiple platforms. So your input really helps us all stay informed. Did you think I was going to forget about the elephant in the room, the executive order that was just passed under our current administration? No. This order directs federal agencies to support states in forcibly removing individuals from public areas. It encourages involuntary mental health or addiction commitments for those deemed a danger or incapable of self-care, effectively criminalizing sleeping outside without.
And there are a lot of people with mental health disorders who do choose to sleep outside, and we may not understand why. And we don't have great services to mental health. And mental health is like one of the last things that we seem to not understand. And we have very little sympathy. And a lot of times people in mental health crisis will use substances in order to quiet the voices in their heads or do things to help try to manage what they're dealing with from a mental health perspective because they don't know any other way to do it. And so I think we need to stop demonizing these folks. We should be wanting to help them and be able to do it in a more constructive way, and calling people names or criticizing people that are probably some of the most vulnerable in our population. It's not really great. We've got plenty of money to fix these solutions, but yet we choose to give tax breaks to extremely wealthy people. And I will say what my point is on that. I don't try to talk politics, but as somebody who's a healthcare provider, I will stand up for people who do have mental health disorders because I see that as much as I see somebody who has cancer. And I don't think it's a choice. It's not a choice to have a mental health disorder. Just like it's not a choice to get cancer. Well, certain things with your lifestyle you could say were. If you don't eat right and you smoke, yeah, you're going to increase your risk of having cancer. But we have plenty of people too who get lung cancer who never smoked a day in their life. Go figure that one out.
A shelter, even when the shelters are full. This executive order replaces or limits the housing first model in favor of punitive treatment mandates and penal enforcement. I want to give you a little background on this because there's conflicting evidence that, depending on what time frame you're looking up, can skew your results for research, because that's how fast the laws change without us knowing about it. In 2018, Martin versus Boise, the Ninth Circuit made a decision that had protected unhoused people from enforcement.
We know that Sarah said that Tim could potentially have a mental health disorder called narcissism, and they are the most difficult to treat, in my opinion.
And when sufficient shelter wasn't available. But in 2024, the Supreme Court made a decision in the City of Grants Pass versus Johnson, which explicitly overruled that, meaning cities can now enforce public camping bans even when no shelters are available.
Calling anybody with a substance use disorder a bum is attacking somebody with a mental health disorder. So that's often they have a mental health disorder. So just like even excessive use of alcohol is a mental health disorder. These are mental health disorders. There are often times that we can see that they potentially lack sufficient levels of serotonin or dopamine in their systems, or they are going through, like I said, they have schizophrenia and they have voices going off in their heads and they don't have access to any medications or anything. and they will start to use substances in order to quiet the voices in their heads because they have no access to nothing else. So it is a mental health disorder, and we need to stop calling these people bums. And yes, some choose to live on the outdoors, and they are very difficult because it's part of what goes on. It's difficult, but we should have a lot more compassion. We supposedly call ourselves a Christian nation. Let's not forget that.
Without violating the 8th Amendment's cruel and unusual punishment clause. We have to talk about the legal rights and implications of all this. I'm going to break this down for you so you get a clearer picture of what this really means. Because come on, we're not just...
I have no idea. I don't try to get into the drama of everybody's channels. I'm just listening to somebody. He might have used a video. I'm just listening to this because I think that she explains some laws. That's it. I have no idea.
Talking about living in a van or camping in a backyard. We are talking about your basic constitutional rights here, and they're being chipped away while nobody's looking. They're going to tell you that these laws are about health and public safety. Right. That's the excuse they always use, isn't it? But what they're really doing is criminalizing poverty, criminalizing alternative living, and now they're creeping into private property. In some places, you can't even legally host your family or have a backyard scout camping trip without facing fines in your own backyard. And some people have been harassed or even ticketed for parking their own RV or van in their own driveway. Is this really public safety, or is it government overreach? These are 4th Amendment violations here. Your right to privacy in your own home, on your own land. When did it become okay for the government to tell you who can sleep on your own property?
And I think anybody in the United States, I don't think it matters who's in power. I think most Americans want to be able to have that freedom. So it depends. I mean, where do you draw the line as to who's able to have that freedom and who isn't? There's a lot of questions in this. My biggest concern is I don't want to see anybody, because of the inequity in housing costs at this moment in time, or if people choose to have this as their lifestyle. I don't think in this country we should, I don't think it's good if people aren't cleaning up after themselves. And yeah, I've seen some of that, and that's disgraceful, but I think that if people are being good stewards to the land that they're on, then I don't think that, to me, necessarily is an issue if you're not on somebody's private property. If the private property decides that they don't want you on their property, then obviously that's their decision. So I just feel like it is going to change the landscape of a lot of, I think, of content on YouTube, though. Either they're going to be forced more to the East Coast, and then maybe some of the laws, then if more people start moving from out west because they're stricter in those areas, and then these people then have to come more eastward, then maybe the laws in our towns become more strict because they have to combat for that. Who knows? I'm just saying it's going to make a change in what we see in YouTube, whether you like this person or not.
What kind of vehicle you can own, or whether you can even park it outside of your own house. But it just affects van lifers and people in their RVs. What? No. If you have a guest who wants to sleep in their car after a party, illegal. You want to camp out in the backyard during summer? Illegal. If your mom is dying and you need to stay on her land, but in your own space, like a van or an RV.
I mean, we certainly do have a lot of shopping malls that are becoming empty that could be converted into housing. I mean, often they're in areas with a lot of parking too. I would think they would be great structures to use for potentially fixing housing solutions if they've a lot, or they just get knocked down. I have no idea. I know I've seen schools. I just personally, as somebody who is a healthcare provider, know that my patients would not do well in unhoused situations. And I certainly don't want to see anything that could potentially increase the criminalization of people who are trying to get by. A lot of young people are trying to save money for homes at the moment and living in their cars. There's huge numbers of people, not huge, but there are probably an increased number of young people who are finding themselves living in their vehicles, to save money or situationally because they just cannot afford the housing and afford to put 3 months of rent down to deposit on places that cost $1,000. Most 20-some-year-olds don't just have access to $3,000 like that, and neither do their parents.
While taking care of her, illegal. If you fall on hard times and you need to stay in a friend's driveway while you get on your feet, that could get you cited, or worse, your vehicle towed and your property violated. We are living in a time where cities are redefining what it means to be a criminal. And in some places, it just means you happen to be poor or different or inconvenient. And yes, enforcing these kinds of laws on private land does raise all kinds of constitutional red flags.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily to go and say always about Arkansas. I mean, because otherwise people are going to head there, Bertie. Anyway, let's go over to this other young lady. She's somebody who's married. Her husband works a regular job, and they are trying to save money to buy land, and they live in a van. Okay. This is just, these are the younger people in our generation. So let's move over to a different young lady. And yes, she has a pierced nose, so don't get triggered, everybody. Even I used to have a pierced nose once. All right, we'll let this young lady take it away. This is from a channel called Vanboozled, Van Life and Outdoor. Is van life about to be criminalized? There's a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot, because it's not. It's also the ordinances. I think the executive order has highlighted it, but I think really what the point is that within a lot of different communities across the United States, the ordinances are changing. And so it is going to make changes in all of this, and could make changes in how people. This lady has a video of her sitting eating lunch at a Wawa that was really bad. So, I mean, anyway, let her take it away.
If you're a van lifer, nomad, vehicle dweller, even a part-time RV traveler, or you're just considering doing it in the future, listen up. There is a new policy that just dropped, and it's going to affect us nationally. I genuinely fear for the future and the validity and the safety of van life as an alternative lifestyle moving forward in the U.S. I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm just here to educate and keep all of us on the same page. So please listen up. We are Vanboozled. I'm Kyla. My husband is Andrew, and our dog is Gunner. We are a full-time van life couple that is non-nomadic, meaning we're stationary in one singular area because we have careers, and quite frankly, we don't want to do van life forever, but it's what we have to do for now. On July 24th of 20...
And there are some real sloppy guys out there who leave trash, but not every one of these folks. There's a lot of very considerate people who know how to do their black water properly. Unlike Timmy is a bad example of somebody probably because he doesn't handle his gray and black water tanks properly and just wants to do illegal dumping. So yeah. And he's, out here trying to glamorize the way he lives. And yet he's, he doesn't see that he potentially could be seen as somebody who lives less in a way that is not desirable, even though that's what he tries to sell as is his lifestyle on YouTube, and tries to convince other people to leave their jobs early, to retire at 62, to live a minimalist lifestyle like he does. But yet these laws could be changing, and it maybe only Arkansas might be the only good place to go to. But then the Arkansas would then get flooded, and then things would probably change in Arkansas over time. So it's, I'm just saying, because I know a lot of people are starting to look to places like Alabama and Arkansas to move to. Lower cost of living too. You could get a nice piece of land, beautiful country down there. It's real pretty.
2025.
Probably hot.
Our current administration signed an executive order about crime and disorder on the streets. And while it's meant to target homelessness and encourage public safety, it actually affects vehicle dwellers, van lifers, and nomads. We are...
Tim doesn't have a ladder to fix his awning. So, but like I said, Tim is trying to encourage people who are going into their older years, and like I said, this could be problematic for people who find themselves not able to keep up with the rising rents in this country, who are living in cars. There are a lot of older senior citizens who are living in cars at this time, women and men. Sad, 78-year-old women. And not by choice, because they couldn't afford the apartments. The social security checks don't cover it. They obviously didn't have, not everybody had access to 401ks and all. And it doesn't mean that they were bad people. They might have just worked regular jobs. It's very expensive at the moment. Life is expensive. I do YouTube, and I thank you all for watching. It helps me pay for my puppies. It really does. And so I appreciate it.
No longer seen as a separate lifestyle from homelessness. It's really terrifying to know that even though me and my husband have careers, we're educated, we're not on substances.
Right. These are educated people. They're not on substances. This young lady doesn't look like a substance use person to me at all. She lives in a lifestyle, an alternative lifestyle. Yes. But when has it been a crime to have an alternative lifestyle in the United States? Isn't that what made us great? Isn't that what gave us freedom? I don't know. And I was born here in the United States, despite the accent. Okay, I was born in Virginia. I just happened to have part of my lifetime in the UK. So I'm just happened to have a transatlantic accent.
Don't have mental health problems. We're simply doing this lifestyle because we don't want to have the majority of our income go to a rental. We're trying to save up and buy land. And this is really a vessel to better ourselves. And there's so many other of you out there that wanted this alternative lifestyle. You didn't want a home. You didn't want sticks and bricks. Maybe you wanted an RV or a built-out schoolie to travel the nation and see it. Well, now we are being looked at as vagrants, as a danger to the community and a danger to ourselves simply because we live an alternative lifestyle. This executive order encourages cities to crack down on things like urban camp.
Now, this is obviously, as I said, this is just, and I know it's just an executive order, but it has implication. It does have implication. And to think it doesn't is not fair. These people don't try to just try to publish things because they just felt like it one day. There's nuance behind everything. And I know at the moment, each state, if we're going to be that much that each state just does its own thing, then maybe each state, should we all just separate and be our own countries? Would people be cool with that? I don't know. I'm just saying. But I think that my biggest point is that Tim, for all his wanting to show off with his truck and his car, and I've got something about the CC rider coming up soon anyway, which is, typical of Tim, that he is encouraging individuals to follow his lifestyle, and that he could be getting people into some deep hot water. Because Tim's lifestyle is potentially considered vagrancy, living full-time in an RV. He doesn't have a roof like a technical that's not a trailer. It's just an RV. So it's not like it's a trailer house that, that he's living in. He's in something that, you're just supposed to use short term when you're traveling on holiday. And RVs are not supposed to be designed as a full-time place to live, but that's what Tim's doing. And he's been living in campers and RVs and tents for quite some time now. So is Tim a vagrant? I don't know.
Camping, loitering, and even people sleeping in vehicles, which means we could be treated the same as someone living on the streets, even though we're just traveling or living on the road legally. Now, here's the kicker. The government is offering federal grants to cities that enforce these policies. So these cities that restrict van lifers or crack down on street camping could get extra funding. So what does this mean for us? Well, the pressure's already on. Cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Denver are increasing parking restrictions.
And we have a lot of homeless people here in Virginia Beach. I promise you, living in a seaside resort town is an attraction magnet for people who are unhoused. And so yes, they often have mental health and substance use disorders. And a lot of times they might have been, especially in my area, ex-military. Maybe have PTSD from their time serving. We just think about it. You just don't know. Don't know somebody's situation. You don't know why they started to use substances. That's why, maybe just always think about it. I've done a lot of work I've had as a nurse, RN, we often get a lot of unhoused people, obviously, in the hospital. A lot.
You've probably seen it. No more overnight parking signs, fewer and fewer places to park at night. San Francisco just enforced a 2-hour parking rule. They have a program where they want to buy back people's RVs. I'm not really sure where they're supposed to go. I'm not really sure how buying back their RV and now they have nothing to live in really helps if you're trying to keep people off the street. Here's what keeps me up at night. My husband and I got into van life because rent was too expensive. We initially started out with no other option than to live in our 2005 Honda Pilot. We always had jobs. We always paid our taxes. Our license and registration was always up to date. We just could not afford the cost of living. But under these new policies, the line between who's considered a threat and who isn't is not very clear. Cities are being encouraged to move people off the streets, and some officials are now talking about forced treatment or institutionalization for those unable to care for themselves. This language worries me because I'm not sure who is in charge of determining that and what the parameters are.
I have no idea. Dramatic music, maybe. You guys are harsh on these people. I thought this is an interesting topic. We're obviously not watching Tim this week, but this obviously does impact him. It could impact him, and it certainly impacts the sort of advice that he's giving. And I think it's a lot more going on in the United States. We're all very fortunate in our older generations. Most of my audience is older. I have some younger people, but I certainly have. I went in and bought coffee from Trader Joe's the other day. That was usually $4.99 a bag. It was $7.49 a bag in the space of a couple of weeks because of the changes in certain tariff laws. And obviously, I'm able to absorb a little bit of that cost, but not really. So it's affecting everybody. And so there are going to be more people, I think, coming in the future who are going to find that they are forced into their vehicles and then they are criminalized. And so it's because who's going to be, where are people going to go? There's a lot of big cities. Not everywhere is a small town. We have a lot of homeless people, unhoused. It's a better word to use here in Virginia Beach.
Are for determining that. I completely understand if someone is having a mental health crisis, they're in full-on psychosis, and they're using substances, and they're a danger to themselves and other people in public. I absolutely understand that letting these people...
I think this is an interesting topic too, Tommy. And I think it's interesting because it is going to affect different people. And I think that if we don't say that people shouldn't be concerned about how it's going to affect their lifestyles, we're not right on that. That is not correct. It may not affect commercial drivers, but we should care about how everyone in this country is affected. We should. We don't want to be some cookie cutter, boring ass nation. How boring. How blah. I wouldn't want to be that. I certainly appreciate everybody's individual and unique things. And obviously, as somebody who works with mental health, it breaks my heart to see people on the streets and knowing the reasons why, because I have had to work with so many unhoused people, so many people with substance use disorders. I had some, I can think of some heartbreaking letters that I have received from the children of addicts because I didn't treat their parents in terrible ways when they were coming to end of life. And so I just think about a lot of different people. I'm sorry, I don't want it to make me cry because I have a lot more compassion for people. Obviously, I'm an RN.
People just run freely is not good for them or for the community. But what if the government says, just by you living alternatively and
I don't know,
not
Ross,
conceding to paying an exorbitant amount of money in rent or purchasing a home, you are now a danger to society?
I don't think there might have been a handful of those who decided to do some curated Instagram content and so forth. But I don't think that necessarily. There's a lot of people that might have actually found that this was their situation and they kind of dressed up the channel in order to make, because I've seen a lot of these young people, and I can promise you, I don't think any of these women, from the looks of them, look like they came from any family from any means. You can just tell by looking at their teeth and all, There's certain things that you can tell, that you can look at people, you're like, yeah, they're not coming from well-heeled families. I promise you. Not all of them are. I don't necessarily think this girl is probably just from a regular family here in the U.S. Not everybody is super well-heeled. A lot of regular people are going to be affected. A lot of older folks. Like I said, there's a news thing. I don't know if we can watch it, but it would be criminalizing 78-year-old women. That would maybe make you cry.
You are now a danger to yourself and everybody else.
Gotta be nicer, man.
What if a local officer thinks that just because I'm living in my van, it means I'm a danger to the rest of the community?
There's a lot of people who are going to be scared by this. And obviously, these are YouTube videos, okay? But there are a lot of cities who are changing their ordinances. As I said, I know a lady who had to leave Oregon because they changed the laws about people living in RVs on other people's properties. Tim himself has found himself out of his tent in Boynton Beach. Tim is not a pay grade above any of this stuff. And he should be more concerned. But he's going to encourage people to live this type of lifestyle. I would never want people really living these types of lifestyles. Obviously, I'd rather have more affordable access to housing for people. Because I know for public health, we don't want people living in this situation. It's not clean for the most part. It's unhygienic for a lot if they're not together and can properly do stuff. It's not good on people's mental health over time. We saw that, like I said, with Tim in the heat. We just all maybe have been in the creature comforts of our homes and not ever had to experience. Some of you said you have experienced this. I would hate to have to experience it. I hated just even staying for 30 minutes, sleeping in a rest stop one night in Carolina and felt completely unsafe, even with a dog in the car.
What if they separate us? What if they impound my vehicle, take my home, put my dog in a kill shelter, and I'm institutionalized? I'm not trying to be dramatic, but these are very real fears for people.
Some of these people may be really fearing this. It's true. I mean, some people are getting scared. I know it seems like drama. I'm not trying to minimize people on it. I think we should try to have a broader conversation as to other than just the supposedly curated Instagram. It's a lot of people who don't have Instagram and TikToks who are living in their cars here in the United States and who aren't having van life channels, living in their vans. And that's the larger issue. I just picked some videos from some people. Hold it in, guys.
Living responsibly outside of the traditional system. And that's why I think we all need to stay informed and keep talking about this calmly, but seriously. In a minute here.
This young lady is married. Why would she need to go home to her mother? You guys need to calm down.
Here, I am going to touch on some solutions to just get by for now, but I would like to thank everyone if you're still watching. I know this is very, very heavy subject matter, and
exactly. There's a lot of people, and unfortunately, he probably were encouraged by watching people on YouTube who thought it seemed to be a good idea to move into vehicles in order to save money. People are crippled by student loan debt, by the way. Do you know, and how, if you're crippled by that type of debt and the cost of vehicles, have you seen how much a car costs nowadays, brand new? How are you going to pay, the student loan, and you don't have to go to college. The job market is pretty bleak here currently. There's not, there's a lot of graduate students who are graduating this particular year, and the job market hasn't been great for them. Even people coming from Ivy League colleges. And usually these were people who were guaranteed pretty good jobs. Should everybody be in the trades? I don't know. But not everybody necessarily feels that way, that's the way they want to work. There's a lot of things. I'm just saying that I think that we're going to see a lot more of this type of talk coming from our nomad community, or we'll start to see a lot more people quitting out of the community. And maybe this particular genre of content is really going to start to disappear on YouTube. That's one of the conversations I'm just having a broader conversation about as well. And obviously, to increase, there just seems to be a lot of people supposedly living in their cars. That's horrible. For me as a nurse, thinking that people, especially young people, what a way to start your life. I don't think they're trying to do it to be glamorous. In my day, we just happened to share 7 people to one house, and it wasn't glamorous.
I am not always this serious when it comes to my content. Please don't forget to subscribe. We have a lot of awesome travel vlogs, travel guides, hiking footage, and really just glorious, wonderful times that we've had while living this lifestyle. And I do want to share not just the real and the raw, but also the good stuff. So please.
I can't say I've always had the best time with social workers at the peer professional level. I found them frustrating too sometimes. I have no idea, because obviously I work as an RN, but obviously I always try to make sure my patients have services or access to their medications or whatever is going to keep them safe and healthy. Obviously, as an RN, I wouldn't want to discharge a patient to a situation like this. How do I think they're going to recover from this is the way I think about it. As a healthcare professional, there's a lot of people, and obviously, in order to get through the YouTube algorithm, a lot of these people are going to cause a little bit of drama. Okay, guys, just be aware. All right. But I think it is an interesting topic to talk about. We just talk about Tim all the time. And he's boring as heck. All right. I'm going to let this lady keep on going, and then I'm going to give away some free memberships to my community today. And we're going to talk about different topics. And I'm not criticizing anybody. So I'm just finding this to be a fascinating topic, because I think it's going to change the landscape. And I don't think Tim should be encouraging elderly people to get into an RV at this point.
Please feel free to go check that out. So what should you do right now? There's no need to panic. You need to stay informed. You need to know the local laws of where you're traveling to or where you're currently staying at. Some cities have 2-hour parking rules or no overnight parking.
And this is true. And I think that's an important part, is that you should know your local. How many subscribers does she have? I think about 5,000 or 6,000. She's a small channel like mine. Number 2 in the van. Oh, yeah, gosh. You can make $80 to $100 a day through the labor companies. That's hopefully. I used to do some temp work back in my day. I worked in a cheese factory at one point in my time. I think she's a small channel, and obviously there's going to be a lot of talk about this. I just find it interesting because Tim never talks about these topics. And he's supposed to be an RV minimalist channel. And he never talks about these topics. I just find it fascinating because he doesn't talk about it. He just talks about he's off camping. And the fact that he was going to put this like camper on the back of his truck and do all this stuff. Well, Tim maybe needs to plan his travels a little bit better. In hindsight of some changes.
Areas at all.
Going out west.
The more mobile you are, the better. In my case, we live in one singular area. My husband has a career at a physical brick and mortar job. So for us, it's a little bit trickier. But where I'm at currently is not cracking down quite as hard as other regions. Ironically, I'm East Coast, and West Coast seems to be cracking down the worst right now because the West Coast truly used to be the mecca of van life. So you want to keep your van looking like a van. Don't make it look abandoned, but also don't make it look like you're living there indefinitely. If you're parked in a place that feels iffy or close to a tourist area, it's best to move on.
And maybe this is the reason why Tim has, been talking more and more about wanting to get into a sticks and bricks. Because his conversation he has recently, and I think he was showing... I just saw his thumbnails. We obviously aren't watching Tim. That's why we're doing this week. His thumbnail was like a $1.5 million house or something of that nature. It's like, Tim. I know my girlfriend probably just moved into. I had a girlfriend just moved into this very nice neighborhood here in Virginia Beach, and I know it's a good neighborhood. And she just moved in last weekend, and she's been trying to move from, it's she and her husband. So it's two good incomes. And she obviously has been, had some home sales of her properties because she married and was staying in her husband's home. Obviously he's selling. So obviously between the two of them, which is much easier, obviously, a lot of times than a single income, as I know, she has been able to purchase, and she actually told me, because this area is such a desirable neighborhood in Virginia Beach, that she actually got into something of a bidding war, believe it or not, for this property. And so she is moving into one of these nice sticks and bricks. And it just makes, and I know the type of job she has as a cardiac nurse practitioner, working at a hospital level, doing it. I know what her husband works for, like a bioengineering type company. And then there's Tim with his supposedly $1,700 a month Social Security and his YouTube on the road to 100K plaque, looking at $1.5 million subdivisions. Great, dream on, Tim. But maybe it's partly because he knows this gig is going to be up at some point. Tim don't want to be living in that RV forever.
Be as discreet as possible. If you are in a highly populated area or a bigger city, try not to make a spectacle of yourself. Don't have your doors wide open.
Her husband works full-time in a sticks and bricks job. I'm not sure if she has another job. I think she says that she has another job that she does part-time, and then she probably does some YouTube content creation. Promise you, for the older folks in our audience, which most of us are, a lot of people, these young folks, they want to be content creators. They are fans of corporate America because they've seen that a lot of times corporate America necessarily hasn't treated necessarily their parents right, or hasn't been a great source of joy anymore. They don't pay the bonuses. They don't have even the Christmas parties they used to. Remember the days they used to have Christmas parties? Remember those times? All that stuff's gone, guys. They don't have corporate softball teams. It's all gone. It's not fun. They don't enjoy working at these corporations as much, I don't blame them in some ways. It's not a lot of joy.
Don't be showing off all of your bells and whistles. Try to keep your front seat, dashboard, and driver's area looking like a regular van. When you go somewhere to sleep at night, you park, you're not getting out, you're not walking your dog, you're not playing music, you're putting your window covers up. Silence, wake up early, and leave. Unfortunately, even during the day, that is when I have received the most harassment and negative attention from.
That's interesting to know, Jeff, because Tom talked about going up into the Smoky Mountains. I'm thinking that is part of the in Georgia. Do you know whether or not that would be in your county, Jeff? Because this is what I'm mentioning. There's all these different ordinances that are happening throughout the United States. And not just out west. They're starting to creep their way east coast, which is scary for us on the east coast. Virginia Beach has tons of little RV campgrounds and all this stuff. Oh, Roscoe right here next to him. Okay, he's such a
security or law enforcement. I don't know.
Hold on, I have to give away my memberships here. Oh, Foothills of the Smokies. Interesting, Jeff, that you said that. Hey, Miss Vicky, Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, North Carolina. Thank you, Miss Vicky. Foothills of the Smokies, and that's also Georgia too. Nice to see you, Miss Vicky. Foothills of the Smokies. Okay, because I think that's where he said he was going. I read one of his transcripts because we're not watching Tim this week. we're all having a vacation, and interesting because I think that would be beneficial if he thinks he's just going to set up camp, because maybe there's going to be more competition for sites at the moment. I mean, it's still summertime. And it's getting nice. I mean, the Smokies in this part, it's going to be gorgeous soon because it's going to get to autumn. Most beautiful time of the year. Oh, my God. Beautiful. Place to wash a plate. Oh, yeah. Last I saw Tim, he was peeking in the windows of one of those trailer homes on a lot. It was about $130 plus lot rent. See, he could have had that if he hadn't bought a CC Rider and a truck and RV. He could have had all of that. But Tim was going to go traveling and doing all this van life. Tim was going to try to be one of these, RV life influencers. He was going to show his retired travel and still be RVing, just in a different way. And it could impact even retired people doing this. All these different ordinances. North Georgia? Okay, so isn't that where Tim's headed to? Is he going to not be able to take his RV? Talking about, yeah, right. And then we're hearing from Jeff that there's an ordinance about the RVs. What did you say? Jeff, you're going to have to drop that ordinance thing again for me, if you don't mind, just so I can find it. Oh, here we go. I got it. Our county recently passed a county ordinance prohibiting living in an RV. Well, he's not going to be living there. He's just going to be traveling. But he couldn't get on his daughter's property with an RV. There's all kinds of campgrounds, I bet. But they're going to start getting really busy. Because of the fact that people aren't going to be able just to, hang out at, people's properties, because there are people who do. Don't tell me there aren't families that somebody could potentially be living in the house and then somebody out there living in the RV out south. Let's be honest. It's getting 100 Qs a month. Well, exactly. And that was a time when Tim could just put up a beach photo of him filming Miss Tammy's backside for 30 minutes. Walking down Kekina Beach, and he get like 30,000 views. Now he can't even break 1,000 barely for Lido Beach. Hilton Tom has his mouth. Do you think he's going to see Hilton Tom? Wouldn't that be something? I thought Tammy was with Hilton Tom. 700K, not 100K. Oh, that's a lot of views. That's a lot of views. Yeah, Tim was making good money in those days. He really was. He was making some excellent money from those days. Yeah, we pretty much have, Tommy. Especially if everyone's going to be creating YouTube content. It's like, no. All right, let's let young lady finish out.
if there is
maybe we'll have
an
time
easy
for this,
solution
news
for
thing.
such
I don't
a
know. I don't know if we'll get
convoluted
drugs for
problem,
people.
I feel like this is an infringement on our rights.
That's funny to
I
know.
feel like we are moving backwards in time. It terrifies me that because I won't conform to a traditional lifestyle of renting or purchasing
Oh, so New Zealand, that's interesting. Okay, I'm going to show, has just passed a digital nomad visa now. Oh, come on over. You'll be safer. We even have an FBI. Well, that is interesting to know that New Zealand just passed that, because a lot of countries in Europe are trying to get rid of theirs. Like Portugal is sick of digital nomads, and they actually say that it is the digital. So just be aware in New Zealand, this is what I'm hearing through Europe, is that it has hindered the housing prices. So increased, obviously, housing costs in any of the cities or locations that are most desired by these digital nomads. But that would be great if I could get to New Zealand, Catherine. New Zealand would be, oh my gosh. That would be nice. That would be nice. Sharon says Tim's lease is up. He doesn't want to pay by the month. He doesn't want to go to the good weather as rates are peak season. What to do? He complained about the cold living in Jacksonville. He is in quite a conundrum at this time. We're going to take a look at this lady's thing, because this is interesting about the medium home prices in each of these states. Now, she put up an interesting chart here, guys. This is interesting. She leaves her parents' home to film in the backyard, maybe. No, she's married. She's married and has a dog, okay? This young lady is actually, guess what? I know she looked young to us, but she's actually old enough to be married. I think first chance he gets, he will sell everything and rent a room. Tim is doing nothing but trying to create drama for his channel. I'll be surprised if the camper moves anytime soon. I'm just wondering if he's talking about, and you know what? Now that you mentioned, Vicky, about the fact that Hilton Tom has a chalet up in the Smokies, and the way Tim can be kind of a vindictive, okay, this is my opinion, a vindictive so-and-so. You remember how he's mentioned twice now about coming to Virginia, once directly to Virginia Beach, obviously directed to me. So if Tammy and Hilton Tom really had anything going on, do you think he's giving a veiled threat to Hilton Tom that he's coming up to the Smoky Mountains? I'm just wondering, because why would he pick the Smokies of all places? And that's where his daughter is too. And he's visiting his daughter. But I understand that from Johnny Vegas that his son-in-law, his daughter's husband, does not permit Tim to film at the home. He will not let him film. And that's one of the reasons why we don't see Tim's daughter anymore, is because he's like, he put a kibosh on that. The husband's a school teacher. He does not want Tim filming in his home, because he obviously then has students. He could see inside this guy's house. And no teacher wants their personal business out like that for their students or their students' parents or whatever to see. So I don't really blame him. I've been a school teacher before. You don't want your business out like that. I remember just getting embarrassed running into kids and parents out at a restaurant at the weekend or a supermarket, even in a big ass place like Mexico City. How you can run into somebody in a city with that many people, I don't know. But you could. Well, a city with 30 million people. Still run into one of the kids and their parents somewhere. No, it's no physical address, nowhere to go. Poor Tim. Well, I'm just wondering what's going to go on. Going to get a visa? You going to go visit? Oh, you guys are all traveling all over the place here. Given Tim dire circumstances, this is from Gail, I can understand why he's so annoyingly chipper, almost manically gleeful. Substances? I don't know, Gail. We know he's gotten some, Ambien or some different pharmaceuticals from his doctors over time. Miss V spent he spent some time a while back at a campground in Marion, North Carolina near Asheville. That's on his channel. I think that's when he had the Forerunner. Yeah, he's been out there traveling around. And he talked about wanting to get his that like camper cover on the back of his truck so he could sleep. And he's talked more. Remember, he was going to get a tent and go camping recently. Well, you know, Tim, you're going to have some real interesting times. Yeah, he is. He's married to a school teacher. Yeah, grifter like old. Exactly. His daughter is her son-in-law is a school teacher. You don't want your house out there like that if you're a school teacher. You just don't. You don't. What did Dr. Falcon say? Oh, I was giving away some memberships. Hold on, guys. I was giving away some free Life and Vibe memberships. Hold on, go. Where's my giveaways? Engage with my audience. That's not the engagement I wanted. Here we go. Membership gifting. Just because you came in, and I was so happy that so many people came in just for something that was a little different from Tim. I appreciate it. So I'm going to gift out 5 Life and Vibe Good Life Community memberships. So thank you, guys. We'll see who got them. Yay! Who? It's probably going to be people from the Foodieverse. Victoria Pasta, Candace Young. It is. It's always people from the Foodieverse. Tamara, Just Jamie, and Kendra. Yes, these are all from my Foodieverse. So anybody who watches my Chantel content, you just got some free memberships to the Life and Vibe community. Tim on it's it is an act. Oh, and he supposedly has been ranting and ranting. Oh, Tim's daughter, yeah. Frozen Hosa, his daughter had to. Oh gosh. Yeah, they don't want to have to deal with that. I'm interested in what these medium home prices are. So let's take a quick look at what this is over here. Okay. So median home prices in my home state of Virginia. This is obviously not in the DC area. Because the DC area, I think they combined me with Virginia, with DC. It's $395,000 supposedly Virginia median, but we have some areas that are very expensive, like where I'm at, where you know houses literally just across down the street from me are $1 million with no yard, jet noise. Just because of the proximity to the beach. They're not even on the beach. This is not a house on the sand. We're talking about in a regular neighborhood. If you look at any of my shorts and you see me in Junebug walking around some little neighborhood, the houses in that neighborhood are like $1 million. Regular ass house. So anyway. Florida though, my goodness. Just slightly higher than even Virginia, because we do have some more country areas out here. Tim is looking at a median home price of $405,000 in Florida. My goodness. And then obviously Louisiana is one of the most reasonable at $191,000. And then obviously out here, we've got California just absolutely horrendously at $776,000 on a median home price. Because obviously there's areas in California which have a lot less expensive housing, depending on which part of California you live in. It's like any of these states. North Carolina's not exactly inexpensive. $340,000 for an average home out in North Carolina. I know this. North Carolina is going to start probably getting more expensive. That's where I was looking to move to, actually, North Carolina. Colorado is $561,000. And then Utah, which I know that Tim was looking around, and wasn't he looking at Utah? And wasn't he in Utah and Arizona and all these areas and looking at all those homes while he was out in Vegas? Well, that's $530 on average. And then, these are expensive. So all of the states that Tim was rolling around in, looking at all those houses, and we know he was in some expensive neighborhoods. This is, wow. Okay, keep going.
A home, which one of which is not even viable for me currently, and the other would put me in a horrific financial position, thus probably putting me legitimately physically on the streets with nothing.
I understand. Well, I know that North Carolina, if you're on water, they have like some like state flood insurance or something, so that you can ensure that at least in water frontage areas, you do have some type of flood insurance. Obviously, I was looking because, like I said, I was looking at a house in Moyock, believe it or not, Miss Vicky. I put an offer on a house in Moyock, North Carolina. I did not get the house, but I was just about to go over the border and move to North Carolina. I was out in the country, out in Moyock, but it didn't go through. But anyway, so I'm still in Virginia.
I am at risk for being arrested, for being put in some type of rehab facility just because we live alternative.
Well, this girl did have some security guy from a Wawa approach her in a really strange way. And so if she seems a little bit more triggered, it was because she actually experienced like kind of a not nice situation. And they ended up calling the police. She actually looked like she remained quite calm, and the guy ended up losing his job, I understand, because he overreached the situation. So if she seems a little bit more high strung about it, it's because literally a security person at a Wawa had the police come over to her van while she was eating a sandwich that she had bought at the Wawa. And she so, you know, that's a horrible thing to have to go through. I think most people here in the sadly in the United States, young people, I think a lot of us have had, had to talk to the police at some point.
Doesn't mean that we need to be rehabilitated. So the very general broad wording on this executive order.
And thank you again, Sharon. And you know what I'm referring to. I'm very excited by that. Thank you so much. It was a lovely birthday gift and surprise. And you take care, and thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being here for something that was a little bit different. We're almost done.
Truly concerns me. And regardless if you live in a vehicle or not, it should concern you too. We're losing our rights. This is not freedom, people. Join van life community.
Tim cannot get rid of that CC rider for love nor money, buddy. And I have the proof behind that. And we'll be doing it tomorrow. We're going to do that one as a live stream. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But I'm like, you know what? It's I can pretend like I've just, buying the car. But you'd be shocked to know how many times Tim's listed that vehicle. Or maybe not. Oh, yeah. He's been trying to offload that car for a long time. The best Honda touring model ever. He can't sell that thing for love nor money. He has tried on so many different websites and different places. It's wild. Yep. Different prices. Best car ever. Anytime that you see a video that Tim puts out where he says, sometimes he was just literally trying to sell the car on on YouTube. Sorry. Buy me, he said on one video. But yeah, he has listed that car. Your taxes were $400. Oh my gosh, that's nothing. Jeez. So like, is that a month? You had 4 campers in our wall. Hadn't seen that many in a long time. And I'm sure Walmart is going to start cracking down on this stuff. I know some Walmarts are, and probably depending on the state, like cracking down on stuff. It's going to change. I know that's like, all the different things that are going. Oh, it's good to see you too, Miss Vicky. Yeah, you take care, sweetheart. I know you. Thanks for popping in. And now as the court smells like, oh gosh, he cannot. And of course he hasn't fixed the windshield. He never fixes anything. That's what I find so incredible. You spend all this money on this stuff and you don't even get your windshield fixed on your car. What is he going to do? When he goes off traveling, where's the CC rider going to stay? Where's the CC rider going? Remember he talked the other day. I keep looking out the window to see if he sold that thing to Carvana in the end. Because why are you going to keep, because his over 5 years, He is your seniors 800. Oh, yeah. Well, my grandmother got grandfathered in the city of Virginia Beach to not have to pay any taxes on her home because she was a low income senior on Social Security. And she lived in a house that was worth like $800,000 when it was sold. And it was on the water and it was in a very expensive area here in Virginia Beach. Obviously, my grandma could not afford the taxes on that house. So, but we had to sell the home within a certain amount of time as the family. Otherwise, we would start being obviously levied the proper tax rate. So, that was, yeah. So, and luckily, there are places where, in order to keep seniors obviously living in their homes, if the home is paid off, you will have places that will, depending on your financial situation, hold off on any taxes. Now, and I don't think we had to pay any back taxes or anything. I think it was just kind of grandfathered. But I hope we can maintain those things so that we can, we don't have to have seniors going to expensive apartments or, I hear there's all sorts of assisted living places potentially closing down too. I mean, I try not to be political or anything, but a lot of these are people that, were making content on YouTube. Was some of it glamorized? I'm sure. And like I said, I don't think Timmy should be glamorizing this lifestyle necessarily, not for people who are older. One thing is if you want to go and travel and you legitimately have a travel itinerary and you're going off and seeing the Grand Canyon in your motor vehicle home, or, that obviously that makes sense. And, we know Sharing the Journey, for example, they travel and they take care of different campgrounds and so forth. There's a lot of people that enjoy this lifestyle. And a lot of people may just park overnight in a Walmart. It's just like that. People with substance use problems. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing people with substance use problems getting their problems addressed. I hope that, we pay for it as a nation. Who's paying for it? A lot of these people don't have health insurance. So what are we going to do? Pop them in PR prisons? I hope not. Henrico County has the same program. I'm so glad. That's up here in Virginia, isn't it? Henrico County. Henrico County, yes. Tiny. See, would we like to see more? I mean, not that this is ideal. I mean, but can you ever see 10 living in a tiny home? I mean, he dogs that poor person's house out.
And stay connected. We're stronger together. If we all know the risks and share tips, we can help protect our way of life. Van life has always been about freedom.
There's a lot of people who enjoy van life, and yes, they've made content out of it. And like I said, that's what the young people do nowadays. That's what they do. That's their jam. They all want to be. A lot of you ask my friends' kids what they want to be when they grow up. They want to be a YouTube content creator. That's what they want to do. It's like when people wanted to be like movie actors, I guess.
And adventure. And for some, just pure survival. But now more than ever, we need to protect that freedom. And I'm not trying to...
And I know in Virginia, we have programs to help people with substance use disorders as well. But a lot of times they do ask, what insurance do you have? And it's very difficult for sometimes people with substance use disorders to maintain consistent employment in order to have the insurance to cover for the cost of these programs, which is part of the problem. And then they end up on the streets. It's a lot of deep set issues. I promise you, I've written a lot of papers on this stuff, unfortunately, and about health inequities and all sorts of things. And not everybody has great families that are going to come to their aid. It's a pretty rough world out there. We all need to have a lot of compassion.
Hear you. This is something we all need to be aware of. Have you seen these new restrictions or experienced problems parking in your area?
Right.
Drop a comment and let me know how you're...
And that's what I find so ironic. We'll take this little lady off. I'll try to show this news thing and see if we can not get me in trouble with YouTube or with the news channel. That's why I try to break it up under fair use and criticism, because this was heartbreaking. I don't even know if I could show it. It was so heartbreaking about this little old lady living in her car out in Miami-Dade County. Luckily, she got some temporary housing in a hotel. It's not ideal, though, guys. We know it's not. It's sad. And Tim, you brought up a really excellent point there about Tim thinks that he's entitled to live in a wealthy area. Nothing stopping him from moving to the boonies. Right. I mean, there isn't, but how many of these lots are going to be available? A lot of people are going to be taking these lots up. And Tim has mentioned that he doesn't want to be away from his creature comforts of shopping. He doesn't like to be more than 50 paces from a strip mall. So Tim is somebody, I mean, and yet he tries to encourage people to take this as a future for retirement. I don't think that should be what we encourage. I just don't. I don't think it is. And not, and unfortunately you can say, oh, move to a less expensive area for people. But sometimes the salaries become commensurate with those less expensive areas. And so you're still kind of in the same situation that you were potentially originally, still, not making enough money and still struggling with, how things can be expensive. And Tim has nothing prepared for his retirement. And he retired very early. He is a capable, able-bodied looking man to me, and full retirement age is 67. So he would technically only have reached full retirement age this year, but he retired, it seemed, because he was in the era of the Panini. So that was a good 5 years ago. So he's pretty much took it easy his whole life. Let's be pretty honest. Oh yeah, I don't think anybody should be in a sacred space. I don't like that idea. I don't even like people necessarily being at Stonehenge. So I agree with you on that. I rather us just leave those spaces empty. And it's sad because they're getting ready. They've sold a lot of Bureau of Land Management land off and so forth. They've done a lot of that stuff recently. So that's kind of, that's not good. That's not good. Okay. I'm going to scare one last sad story from Florida and then we'll wrap it up, guys. Because this story broke my heart today. And like I said, I'm hoping I don't get in trouble for this one just because of fair use. But it's a news article, so I hope not. I hope they're going to be okay. So it's about, this is I think out in Miami. I believe so. I believe it's somewhere out in Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
New here at 10 o'clock, a startling number of South Florida senior citizens are experiencing homelessness.
One woman was brave enough to share her story in hopes of helping others find their voice. Night Team's Heather Walker has tonight's 7 in bed.
Let me take the closed captions off. Dismiss. Yes. I hope I took the closed. Yes. Did I take the closed captioning off? Oh no. Here we go. Okay. So this is South Florida. And this lady, she's so cute. I want her to be my. I would like her to dress me. She's so sweet. Okay. This is sad. And it's true.
Investigates.
Carolyn's clothes hang neatly in the back seat of her car.
I'm a neat freak.
And are organized in the trunk.
This is my dry cleaning my silks, which I can't afford right now.
Dry cleaning is the least of her concerns for this 78-year-old. She's been living in her car for nearly 2 months because she can't afford a place to live.
And that's heartbreaking because these are people on fixed incomes. So how do you anticipate? And not everybody has a family. Not everybody has kids. I don't have kids. So we can't always brush people with the same kind. With lots of different situations. Lots of people who didn't. Jim has kids. His kids don't even want him around. So you just don't know. But she's so well dressed. It's heartbreaking. She's the most immaculately dressed looking lady living in a car I've ever seen. She's more immaculately dressed than I am. It breaks my heart. I find this very difficult as a nurse. And somebody who was studying gerontology at one point, it's very difficult to see. Because people who are older, we already have changes that happen in the brain that get us naturally a little bit more down anyway. So it's heartbreaking. And I know I'm finishing on a sad note, but these people, I don't want to see these folks becoming criminalized under any changes. That's where my concern becomes. Are we going to start criminalizing elderly people who can't afford cost of living in this country? I don't care if people call me woke for this. I think we should care, especially if we call ourselves Christians.
I look at it as a journey. I've had many journeys in my life.
Money is tight because her only income is Social Security. She's sold many of her possessions over the last few years, but she still doesn't have enough money.
I think she's got way too much class for Tim. And Tim was also saying he wanted some lady with money too. So luckily she's escaped from him.
We spoke with her here in a well-lit parking lot in North Broward, where she spends time doing word puzzles.
She's very
where it has the large letters for people like me.
And sleeping, sitting up.
Since I've been here, I sleep here in this seat, squinched down. My ankles and legs are swollen.
Yeah.
I'm having to sit all the time.
I bet if you don't sleep properly like that, you are going to retain water down there. I don't care how young you are. You're not supposed to sleep that way. It's not good for your body. It's heartbreaking. I find these situations heartbreaking because it's nothing that these people necessarily have done wrong. Now, Tim, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Tim. Tim was a lazy son of a B.O. most of his life.
I buy jug water. It's cheaper. And I eat one meal a day for $2.02, and then I get a free senior drink.
She gets free gym memberships.
Well, thank you, Catherine, for
Medicare
being
plan.
here to moderate.
I do go shower and do my makeup, my hair.
I know. I'm just sort of highlighting because I don't want these folks to have anything happen to them. This is heartbreaking for me as a nurse. It really gets hard. And there's more and more of these because some of our cities are becoming very expensive to live in. And we don't have a lot of housing protections. It would be great if, I'm sure she'd probably love a little tiny home or something. We don't even give, these are people who probably worked their whole lives here. Really? Is this how we treat our seniors in what we call a Christian country? Seriously? Pitiful, really. Tim, though, I don't know. He's a special case. He took $58,000 from the American taxpayer while he was able-bodied. Return the money, Tim.
Very brave. Very brave.
Cassandra Rett, the Housing and Social Services Manager for the city of Pompano Beach, is trying to find Carolyn a place to live.
She was my godsend.
It could be my aunt. It could be my mother. And it just breaks my heart just how humble Carolyn is.
Cassandra says she is seeing more and more seniors in need. Support services for them are at capacity.
As you know, the rent is skyrocketed. That's the main factor of why these seniors are on the street, is because they cannot afford the rent.
Ron Book, chairman of Miami-Dade Homeless Trust, says homeless seniors are incredibly vulnerable.
We know if you put vulnerable elderly on the street, they're going to die earlier.
Take a look at this.
And I could probably see as somebody who works in healthcare, I wouldn't want to see that. And I certainly don't want to see these people that are becoming potentially criminalized on top of it. That's what I've always had. This channel has been about protecting our seniors from people like Sarasota Tim, who was a younger man, still at working age, and was potentially taking advantage of people who are part of a vulnerable population. And so I still feel that way. And this is where I want to because we've seen a lot of young people, but this is also a population of people who could become affected. And it's heartbreaking. Shouldn't be allowed in the richest country in the world. If we should be proud of anything, we should be proud of the richest country in the world. And we take such great care of our people. But no. And I just feel like that's for any civilized society. Civilized society. It's not about politics. It's about being civilized.
This trend. In 2019, people ages 65 and older made up nearly 8% of the homeless population in Miami-Dade County. By 2024, that number almost doubled to 14% and is projected to reach.
I thought it was potentially also a veiled threat to Hilton Tom if he has some property up there. And he's not been happy with Hilton Tom. Because I don't think he's friends with Hilton Tom. Especially Hilton Tom. Especially Tim didn't care that Tammy hit on Hilton Tom. I don't know if Tammy went off with Hilton Tom or not. And that the relationship ended. I have no idea. But it just seems like maybe that was a sly remark to Hilton Tom, in my opinion.
22% by 2030.
The face of homelessness has changed. And I want people in our community to think about their mothers and their grandmothers and their grandfathers being homeless for the first time.
It can happen to anyone. Don't think it can't. Because I never thought about it.
Carolyn has not lost her sense of humor despite living in her 22-year-old car.
22 years old, you know, and that makes sense. She's 78. Maybe she was in her 50s when she bought that car with her, you know, when she was coming out, because people retired earlier. So maybe she was in the age where people retired more frequently at 62 because she's 78. So it was a potentially different retirement age. Maybe 65 was the tops then. I don't even think that was the top age then. So having a 22-year-old car, she's never going to be able to have the money to afford one of these $40,000, $50,000 vehicles. It's not like you can go even to a Carfax or a Carvana place or whatever these places are, CarMax or whatever, and even find a really cheap car nowadays. And it's just wild. I remember I was trying to buy an inexpensive secondhand car at one point, and they just there was nothing. You couldn't get any. I mean, and then the loans on a secondhand car are worse. And these cars now are like $40,000, $50,000. It's outrageous. I've never seen it. I mean, almost as much as it's like more than Tim's trailer.
It's my baby. She's falling apart like me.
She hopes speaking out about something so personal might help others.
Other people may need somebody to be their spokesperson. Because this is the only thing I ever felt ashamed of in my life. And I truly felt ashamed. But this is the right thing to do.
Just in the last few days, Carolyn's situation has changed. With the recent heavy rain, her car started to leak. Cassandra says the city put her up in this hotel for now, but she's working to get Carolyn a permanent place to live.
Great. An extended stay hotel. That's never the solution. Those places are a trap too for people who don't have a lot of, wealth or power. So yeah, I'm just curious if what Tim's going to be up to, if any of this is going to begin to affect the way that people are able to live. His RV isn't going to last forever. And I don't know if Tim's ever going to really get the means to get us sticks and bricks. Had he decided not to, have made, I think his intention personally was to have a sort of channel that he was traveling everywhere. And obviously that would bring, being an RV life travel channel, retired and showing people different places and doing that. And obviously getting followed by people for that type of content because people do watch the nomads and all these different people. So I think when he decided that he really wasn't interested in making countless videos about Social Security, and in reality, he had a history, I guess, of getting on his motorbike and traveling and driving around, that it seemed to be a better opportunity to build his channel and content and grow bigger. I think that's what Tim was probably thinking. Problem is that Tim is not somebody who is interested in seeing a lot of natural beauty. And so his content was just terrible. I mean, when he was doing beach things, it was literally like this thing of Kekina Beach. And all we did was see the back of Tammy the whole entire time. It's like, and then yet and I think that's where he got spoiled. He could get 30,000 views on that terrible video. And so from the beginning, he just thought he could put out the worst content and he would get tens of thousands of views. And it just doesn't work that way. I don't think he gets that many views. And of course, he pushed out like 10 videos already today. And he's already spoken. We'll take a look. All right, to finish out, we'll just take a look at Tim's thumbnails, but we're not going to watch Tim, guys. That's all we're going to do is look at his thumbnails. That's it, just to see how many videos he's put out today. just for fun, and then we'll finish it out. That's it. We're just looking at thumbnails. That's it. Just to see how many views he's not getting today. Oh my gosh. Oh, we got shirtless with Social Security. How can you be talking hashtag Social Security with hashtag shirtless in your car? Oh my gosh. And this man is, I tell you, he's as red as his bacon chips were that one day. Okay. So far this morning, oh my goodness, he has been putting out yesterday after the day off. Oh my goodness. He took one day off, and then he put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos yesterday. So he was on a 10 video day yesterday. Wow, 10 videos. He still managed to get 2.6 on his rant. My concern is that people didn't watch him this week, but next week, when they're not watching him, people will go back and watch these videos. There's nothing to watch, anybody. I should summarize them on a transcript just so people can see what he's up to. This one, he's got his old Publix picture up here for some reason. And he's ranting about his carnivore diet again. Only half of it starts. So he's just causing drama. He's out here cooking this sort of stuff, just living the high life, which potentially this could all be coming to an end if ordinances change, or coming to an end, Tim, if it gets more expensive, because maybe this isn't paying you back anymore. If it gets more competitive for the RV slots, Tim, and the other places aren't just allowing you to park, what are you going to do for this effective cost of living in this RV? I don't know if you should give your slot up like that. You might have to get ready to explain the more expensive rates in Florida for the winter season. Because we know that there's probably a winter season rate, I'm guessing, and a summer season rate. That's what I'm guessing. We'll see what the chat says. 10 yesterday. Yeah, 10. ST and Tammy happened to fit an odd couple. At the moment, he can't put her in a video. Her family is off limits. He's not welcome at their home. And he's not welcome with his in his own children's homes. Yeah, he needs to return the golf clubs. I know. And then he actually tried to say the other day that people want to watch his Crushing It for Christ videos. No. The problem with old flatheads, he's thinking he's just not that intelligent. Yeah. Bye. It was good to see you, Bernie. And thanks for the no, you're fine. That's what we're here for. We're here for conversation and chat. And I certainly appreciate your super sticker. Hey, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. And we should all be having conversations here. We're all adults. It's a conversation. We're not all going to have the same opinion. And if we did, we'd be really boring. We never learn anything. Burn reference. Oh, that for the burn. It's a burn reference. Oh, see, I don't get everything all the time. Oh my gosh! But this is shirtless here. Shirtless Tim, and his views aren't seemingly that terrible. Got BJ's Wholesale. I'm taking exercise to a new level. Oh, this is important. Okay. This is okay. And I know I'm losing my audience here, but I have, like I said, I have checked into how often Tim tries to sell the CC Rider, and it's been a lot. He's been consistently trying to sell this vehicle, listing it on Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book since January of this year. And he's been listing it pretty much persistently every month. At least what I could see up until April of this year. And then I don't know if the reports just kind of stopped, or maybe Tim ran out of money to keep listing the vehicle, because he was listing it for days and for months on end. And I have the evidence to show that too. And of course, he's going to sell the Honda. Over 5 years' time, that cost of maintaining that Honda for Mr. Baker is going to be about $45,000 to maintain that vehicle. So I'm hoping that Tim just has 45 CC rider, the Crushing It for Christ car, of course, Sam. It's his Honda. He calls it the CC rider, which I think is Crushing It for Christ rider. That's what I think the CC stands for. That's what I'm guessing. It's his call. Yeah, I'm guessing that's what the CC stands for. It's a Honda. No, it's a Honda. He got like a hybrid touring Honda. Yeah. Tim needs to put his shirt back on. Well, William, he's hoping that's going to help him sell the Honda. I love it. It's got hashtag Social Security next to it. But I find that funny because I've been investigating about Tim and the Honda and about when he actually got his title. And, the fact that the title coincides with the time when everybody was calling him out when he first started trying to sell the car and he didn't fully have the title. Yeah. Oh, hey, Tar Heels. We're just finishing up. We're not watching Tim. Tim happened to put out, I've been talking about the fact that I've been looking into Tim's trying to sell the CC rider history. And for all the months where he rolls around saying it's the best car ever and this, that, and the other, Tim has been trying to get rid of this albatross for months, since the beginning of the year. He has no desire to have the CC rider, but we'll leave that to another live because I have lots of information and we can just have a good old laugh about how much money he loses on that car. Though he tries to make out like he's, making money because he saves on gas mileage. The car over the next 5 years is going to cost you, along with the gas, Tim, because of the maintenance, though you haven't fixed your windshield, but insurance and all these things. And we question whether you actually have insurance for your CC rider because you haven't fixed the windshield, which would almost imply if it was just a small chip in it, you could have the insurance fix it for free. Now, you either don't want a record on the vehicle because you've been trying to sell it since the beginning of January, or you don't have insurance, so you can't even get it fixed. But there's something is the reason behind the fact that he just hasn't fixed something as simple as a chip in a windshield. It's and he's trying to sell the car. If I were somebody coming to buy your Honda, Tim, and I saw a chip in the windshield, because people are going to look for stuff like that, I wouldn't buy your Honda unless that thing had been repaired by you. You're trying to sell a chipped windshield Honda over here, Tim. It's just so entitled when the camps at Walmart. Oh, yeah, he's super entitled over at the Walmart. Oh, yeah, it does come with its own toilet. It does. It does come with its own private toilet. And he's talking about meeting some sweet babes at the gym. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. That's just him trying to get Tammy jealous. He's not meeting any sweet babes at the gym. Oh, is that why you called it the CC rider? You're probably correct, Cocktail Slipper. I just was making up the Crushing It for Christ. It's probably to do more with that song. I may not be familiar with that song. I might be a little young for that one. I know some things from those eras, but maybe not everything. I was born in 1969. It does come with a free pee bottle. That's why he's afraid to move. Taxes around $1,000 a year. If I move, start all over. Well, yeah. Well, he is a creep. But it's funny. He is trying to get rid of that CC rider. So maybe we'll take a look at that transcript. I have to get my puppies out and get going here. We've already been live streaming for over a couple of hours. Just wanted to thank you guys for song before my time, a little bit before my time, I guess. I do try. I mean, I listen to music from all types of eras, obviously, but that's not one I am familiar with. And I just, who's a bitchin' chick magnet, can't cook. Oh, okay. Well, you can't do that. But I find this funny about the car. Tim, you've been trying to unload that car since January, sir. I think one shouldn't have photos with a urinal in the pictures, because I think that's never going to sell a vehicle unless you got some weird fetish. And secondly, obviously having a shirtless picture. I don't know if that's the thirst trap that's going to sell the car. Hashtag Social Security does not go with it. And you've been trying to sell this. You need to fix the windshield. No one's buying a cracked windshield CC rider, Tim. And crappy car. Yeah, it is crappy car. So we all know that that's the reason why, Tim. That's the reason why. You know, that's the reason why. Look at those man boobies. I know. And he doesn't look very tanned either. It's the PP rider. It is the PP rider. I mean, he doesn't even look tanned. When you don't take good care of your skin, you don't get a tan. You just burn and it goes away. You need to get. I mean, he just looks so red, and this looks terrible. His cooking looks terrible, and he's getting upset about ranting. A rant will always get some views. Taking exercise, Tim. I saw you doing those burpees the other day, sir. You're not taking anything to the next level. You look like I thought you actually had a day off because you were getting chest pains. That you were actually getting angina. And that was the reason why you were not filming. That's what I thought. Love the idiot. So it's 10 pounds. 10 pounds. That's just water. That's not even a significant, and it's harder as we age. And he has no understanding about the approach to obviously help potentially lose weight. Now, I understand there's this whole new program, the cardiac rehab for nutrition. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more. But there was this whole new diet that I have a friend of mine who's in cardiac rehab at the moment. Under my encouragement, obviously, they had a cardiac procedure, and I was like, you have to do cardiac rehab. You must do cardiac rehab. And part of it is a nutrition component, and there's a whole new diet. So I'm going to have to try to find out. That's one that's heart healthy that they're trying to promote more with these patients. So I'm kind of curious to learn a little bit more about that, because it's been primarily the DASH diet when I was working in rehab. So I am curious to learn a little bit more about that. But yeah, people that age shouldn't do CrossFit. No, I wouldn't suggest that Tim should start a CrossFit program at his age. It's going to be hard on the knees. They do a lot of jumping onto boxes and stuff. And it's a lot of jumping involved. And I just do not think that a lot of jumping and as our knees are feeling things, not the two things that I would mix together at all. So, yeah, the days of the golden tans are all over. Yeah, you don't really, I think, and then Tim's out here like spraying the dry oil with the SPF 0 in it from Banana Boat Republic or whatever. That was just terrible, I certainly would not. I'm under the umbrella. Now, I do get a little bit of color just because obviously I run outside, but I'm covered in sunscreen when I do it. And it's just kind of part of the thing that happens. Unfortunately, when you do outdoor sports, you do tend to get color. But any of the color I get, I don't really like to sit on a beach. Not for long. I mean, I had one day where I was quite happily just kind of chilling on the beach one day and obviously swimming in the water and so forth. But most of the time I'm walking and enjoying it that way. But definitely slathered in sunscreen, 50 and higher. So anyway, well, thanks again, guys. It was fun. It was a nice, interesting topic today. I hope I don't get any strikes from anybody. I'm hoping I was staying fair and balanced about everything. Certainly not to bring anybody to those channels. This is not to encourage any dislike to anybody. Obviously, I did put the links in my description box for the videos that we watched today and thanked those creators for letting me share their content with my audience today and just hopefully raising a little bit more awareness around these topics, whichever side of the fence you sit on. I think it's always good to have awareness. And yeah, he's definitely, his skin cancer. Oh, his skin is horrible. And he doesn't drink enough water. I'm drinking the black cherry vanilla sparkling from Trader Joe's today. I really want to sip, so hold on, guys. So yeah, he doesn't drink enough. You enjoyed the show? Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It was a different topic today, and I was happy to do something a little bit different. Like I said, I'm going to try to maybe summarize the transcript on the one where he talks about selling the CC rider without actually watching it. And we'll take a look at the number of times Tim's tried to offload this vehicle in this past year. There's been a lot. He's listed it a lot for the best car ever. He wants rid of this albatross. I tell you, he hates it. He's wasted all he got. Right. I mean, what was he thinking when he bought that car? I don't know if it was supposed to be like a love gift to Miss Tammy or whatever. I have no idea. But what a absolute waste of money for somebody who's trying to purport that he's educating people about retirement, and then you make that you're somebody who is not a man of real means. You really aren't a man of means, Tim. I'm not a woman of means either, but you're not a man of means, and you bought 2 new vehicles. It's insanity. And your reasoning was because the truck was too expensive to drive. That was after you had just upgraded to that bigger truck. So how much money did you lose? And I would love if somebody would be, I obviously, I'm not really into that much of a calculation, but calculating his losses of money that he just burnt through because he wants to be seen in new vehicles in Florida. I mean, anybody who sees somebody who is in an RV and has a brand new truck and a brand new car sitting outside of it thinks you're making the most illogical financial decisions possible. That is like the least advisable way to spend your money that I can think of than on those 2 losing liabilities. It's just absolutely wild. It's wild. It's wild. He did? Oh, well, then I recommend everyone get over there. And you enjoyed my pop-up live stream. I'm so glad we had fun with it. It is supposed to. We are just having fun, and we're talking about a topic. And I'm glad we can all talk about it. That's what we're here for. It's good to talk about other things, you know. And, so, you know, we all have different opinions, and we respect everybody for it. And I can't wait to watch Non Compos Mentis' new video. It's going to be a good one, I'm sure. For his tape full of sad stories. Yes. I feel that sorta has, oh my gosh, we're just heading out, Eloise. So I feel bad. So I hope you catch us up on the replay, sweetheart. But thank you for stopping in. Yeah, because I've already been here for like 2 hours, so I'm not going to take anybody's more time. But we've talked about some interesting topics today that I think you would appreciate, Eloise. Sometimes people don't know what resources are out there. Yes, and I think that's really important to try to, you know, and to maintain our resources and not lose our resources and help, you know, always show compassion. You know, and I know it seems odd because I don't seem to show a lot of compassion towards Tim. Tim's not showed a lot of compassion towards me. He also, as I've said, he's been somebody that we are dubious about his, you know, intent with sometimes our more older and vulnerable populations when it comes to, you know, that. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, she was. Yeah, she was very optimistic. And I'm hoping that she is able to get some permanent housing. I do not want to see elderly men or women living in cars or in the unhoused situations. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I was a grandma's girl, and it's one thing that, you know, it always brings tears to me. I really find it very difficult. I just think that how we treat our most vulnerable says a lot about who we are as a society, and especially in a civilized society. You know, and we do say we're Christians. So are we always having good Christian Christian, are we being so kind to one another? And really, doing, as Jesus would want us to do? And, that's something to think about, as Christians. And we certainly don't ever want to, because I don't think Jesus would be, Jesus would be having a lot of compassion for seeing elderly people in cause, I would think. That would be my thought. Anyway, let's all remember to be kind and respectful to each other, whether it's in the chat. Yeah, you'll have to watch back. And I need to I always do circle back around to Foodie. So I'm still here, Eloise. I gotta get ready for a seminar. I have a seminar tonight for school. Hoping I can get out some content this weekend. I do have to write a paper. So I've got that on the agenda. So just busy increasing my credentialing. Though I'm not an expert in the healthcare field, supposedly. I think Eloise would say otherwise, since she has been. She is a pharmacist, obviously, in the UK. She has also been a guest on my channel before. I probably could get her coming on to guest in here. The end of his video is funny. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna watch it, Tar Heels. And I'll make a comment because Non Compos Mentis is a wonderful supporter of this channel. and I appreciate all of you who've supported it. But Eloise and she obviously knows a lot more because she's a pharmacist. But we've had peer professional chats and live streams here on my channel. And so I believe that I'm fairly, I have some knowledge within the field of healthcare. Maybe not to the level of a pharmacist, but I have some. The Eye of the Tiger. Oh, well, that's a good song. That brings me back some good memories, actually. Not lying. I actually watched the Funny Show last night. Oh, my gosh. I don't know how young the men are on it, but they made me laugh. It was like doing film reviews. It was called That Didn't Age Well. And it was pretty funny. They did one on the film Mannequin. It was quite good. I know we do. We put a channel. You've been away for 6 months. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm hoping your dad's doing well with the chemo though. And I enjoyed our streaming together also. And I'm hoping that we can in the future because I think we could do some interesting things around Tim. And obviously our friend Chantel being off of insulin. I think we would. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for saying that, Eloise, because there's a lot of misogynists in my community, not in my community, but within this type of Tim community who believe that I do not have the expertise in the medical field that I credit myself with. So, but then again, that says a lot more about who they are as a person than it probably says about me. So I appreciate that, Eloise. I appreciate that very much. So anyway, guys, I'm going to say definitely, yes, I think we need to talk about coming off of insulin the way she did. Yeah, we definitely need to have that stream. And I think actually that would be a very good one. So you know my email address. Let me know because it's going to be more on your schedule. I'm always off Thursday, Friday, Saturdays from work. I am back in grad school, but pretty much free. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. If you did like this type of content and just having a good chat and doing something different, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. And yeah, you're amazing. Awesome. And I hope your dad is doing well. I know that's stressful, and I'm just sorry to hear that you've been going through it. Griffin has turned on everyone. Yeah. Well, I don't really, try to highlight that person because, my thing is too is I certainly don't care. There are so many people trying to cause drama, and we really don't all need to be making that much drama. We're not all going to think the same or be the same, but we certainly don't need all the drama. We're all grown-ups around here, supposedly. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.